On the news, gunmen kill 4 soldiers during gun battle in Bayelsa. Lagos confirms first case of Lassa fever in 2020. And scientists discover possible cure for coronavirus. Many thanks for joining us on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Annetta Philip. The Nigerian army has confirmed that unknown gunmen killed 4 soldiers in Letagune Keremo local government area of Bayelsa. Spokesperson of Operation Delta Safe, Victor Olukoya, in a statement released on Wednesday, said the soldiers were ambushed by gunmen while on routine duty in the area on Sunday. He, however, added that an investigation is ongoing to ascertain the persons or groups behind the attack. The army, in a statement, also denied online reports claiming that the troops invaded the community following the attack and killing of soldiers. Officers and men of the Nigerian military at the theaters of war have been assured of the commitment of the Nigerian government towards their welfare and that of their families. Chief of Defense Staff Gabriel Olonishaki said this during the public presentation of checks to next of kings of 184 officers and men who died in the preservation of the nation's territorial integrity. Represented by Major General Abraham Dasu, the DSS says the efforts geared towards restoring sanity in the polity will never be in vain. Also speaking, Minister of Defense advised the families to maximally expend the fund made available to them.
These officers are faced with hazards in the discharge of their duties, and some eventually pay the ultimate sacrifice, leaving behind wives, children, parents, and siblings. Today, we are gathered here to present checks to the next of kings of our fallen heroes through the Group Life Assurance Program put in place by the federal government of Nigeria to help boost the morale of our officers and men.
This money you are given is for you to settle down. We know we cannot compensate you. There is nothing we can do to bring them back. But certainly, the Ministry of Defense or the nation as a whole will not forget the services of your brothers, husbands, and your children. So I wish you the best of training for your kids, the best of life. Don't lose hope. Your siblings or your husbands have done this nation proud.
Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Akin Abayomi, says the government has recorded its first case of Lassa fever in 2020. In a statement on Wednesday, Abayomi said the patient is currently in isolation at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital, Luth. He added that the state government is collaborating with the Federal Ministry of Health and the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, to control the spread of the disease in Lagos State and also advise members of the public to maintain personal hygiene and sanitize the environment. Lassa fever has been reported in 2020 to be raging in over 27 states, with over 470 cases confirmed and 70 deaths recorded across Nigeria. There's an immediate threat to welfare of children worldwide, says a latest report from the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. UNICEF released the report on Wednesday, commissioned by the World Health Organization. According to the report, over 40 of the world's preeminent child and adolescent health experts say not one country on earth is adequately protecting the next generation from the impacts of carbon emissions, the destruction of nature, and high-calorie and processed foods. The report added that excessive carbon emissions produced overwhelmingly by wealthier nations threaten the future of all children and will burden them with additional health dangers. UNICEF in the report ranks Nigeria among the bottom 6 countries in measurements of children's survival, health, education, and nutrition. The federal government of Nigeria and India have initiated a new partnership to deepen their collaboration in the defense sector. This resolve was demonstrated in Abuja on Wednesday during a courtesy visit to the Chief of Army Staff by a delegation from the Ordnance Factory Board Ministry of Defense, India. The leader of the delegation was the Deputy Director General of the board, Prakash Agwala, who emphasized the need for Nigeria to benefit from the quality military hardware being produced in the factory. Representing the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Policy and Plans, Lieutenant General Lamida Adelshun, said Nigeria and India have good relationship that dates back several decades ago, and that a renewed collaboration between them would explore the full benefits of bilateral military cooperation.
There are many areas where we can cooperate at the user level, that directly with the Nigerian army, as well as we can interact with the defense industry in the country. In the country means in Nigeria, because there are a lot of technological know-how we can offer to them, and of course there is a lot of commonality of product. So far Nigeria and India is concerned, so we can offer the product directly. In fact, in Nigeria also, I believe, just like India, we are having a lot of products which are of Russian origin, as well as a lot of products are there which are of NATO origin.
Our relationship, it's not what has started today, but it's something that has dated back to decades. So your coming is just like cementing the already well-established relationship. And since everything is dynamic, we can only continue to improve. So if there are areas like in the areas of ordnance factories where you are an expert and that has been so successful in your own system, so partnering with Nigerian Army will also mean our own ordnance system too can expand and also improve at the level we are now.
As part of efforts to curb the growing rate of insecurity across the country, the Nigerian Senate is seeking the establishment of the Nigerian Civil Defense Academy to be situated in Pandori, Kaduna State. The bill, sponsored by Senator Sani Musa, passed second reading on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday. This will ensure that officers and men of the NSCDC acquire the highest standard of professionalism while carrying out their responsibilities. After debates on the bill, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, said proper training of officers will ensure stronger effort in the war on insecurity.
The establishment of this institution had become very desirable and a positive necessity to meet the security problems as they were likely to be in future. Nigeria has been battling insecurity and had to face these problems continuously for a considerable period now. The setting up of Nigerian Civil Defense Academy is to be providing instruction to all cadre of civil defense officers in the wider aspect of higher direction and strategy of maintaining internal security matters.
A bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Civil Defense Academy Pandogani to serve as an institution of high-level manpower development with a mandate to train civil defense officers to acquire and attain the highest standards of professionalism and award such certificate as may be approved by the relevant academic regulatory body from time to time, and for other matters 2020, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Interior to report back within 4 weeks.
Meanwhile, Senator representing Gombe South, Amos Bulus, has indicated the federal government, has indicted the federal government for lacking the willpower to curb the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in the country. Bulus made the comment on Wednesday during a debate on a bill seeking to establish the Nigerian National Commission against the proliferation of small arms and light weapons, sponsored by Smart Adeyemi. After deliberations, the bill eventually passed second reading and was referred to Committee on National Security and Intelligence for further legislative work to return in 4 weeks.
We know what is happening. We know the truth, but nobody is ready to say anything about it. If we are of the opinion that, okay, this proliferation of small arms and light weapons is coming from the armed forces and the police, every weapon you pick, whether it's a pistol, whatever name you want to call it, they have a serial number. Why can't we number this? We identify each weapon service-wise. weapons that are coming from the army, that are coming from the navy, that are coming from the air force, are coming from the police, and every other security agency. We serialize these weapons. Any day you catch an armed robber, a kidnapper with any of these weapons, we know exactly from what source it's coming from. We can as well take the appropriate actions. But if we sit down here and we keep talking about this, I've been hearing about this proliferation of small arms for the last 20 years. Till date, no stories. It has always ends here. So we cannot sit down here and be talking about this. If we need to take action, then there's need for us to take action as a people and solve this problem, or else these menaces will continue to remain with us and will continue to pay the price.
The Center for Citizens with Disabilities has organized a 3-day capacity building program to educate persons with disabilities on how to make use of the Freedom of Information Act. The workshop was attended by over 40 representatives of different clusters of persons with disability in Lagos. Adebayo Aisha was there and now reports.
Nigeria passed the Disability Rights Law in January 2019, prohibiting all forms of discriminations against persons with disability. To effectively implement this law, it is paramount that the country's 25 million disabled persons are aware of their rights and demand for it when necessary. To this effect, the Center for Citizens with Disabilities has organized this 3-day capacity training to educate persons with disabilities on how to use the Freedom of Information Act and hold the government accountable.
Specifically, we want to impact on citizens with disability for the right for them to participate in government. And the only way they can participate in government is to engage government with requests. Because we believe that if requests are made to government, they will know how serious those issues are. Because these are not just issues of policy, but issues of practice. Specifically, there are budgets for persons with disability, the blind, the deaf, and all the rest. And most of those budget allocations are usually for travels, for commissioners in charge. So the citizens are now aware and are able to ask questions that those budgetary allocations should be increased and most importantly, should be accessible. Conversation in government should be beyond ballot papers. They're going to vote yes, after voting what next?
With the help of these trainings, CCD says there has been a paradigm shift from where they were, as persons living with disabilities are now visible in the society and are being recognized by the government.
Before now, persons with disabilities cannot actually face the public in terms of reporting or say they are fighting for corruption. But with this project that we have, persons with disability are standing upright for corruption and they are demanding for their rights. Now, we don't have the Nigerian Disability Act, but now we have the Act. That means to say that we are actually making noise and people are listening and hearing us.
Participants at the capacity building program says they would begin to hold their immediate government accountable with the knowledge which they've been imparted at the training.
Going forward, I believe that with this understanding, we can now begin to write to relevant agencies. You know, for instance, MDAs are supposed to, when I mean MDAs, I mean Ministries, Department of Agencies and agencies of the government are like supposed to set terms in their office under the Act. We can now begin to use the Freedom of Information Act to ask questions. What has the budget been doing? For instance, even some budget that goes to LASO, that is Lagos State Agency for Disability Affairs. How can we track what has happened? Why have we performed at this point?
Over the years, we don't even know what amount is budgeted for the well-being of persons with disability in Nigeria and in Lagos State. You know? So I will try to engage with the government so as to get this information.
Discrimination against persons with disability has robbed millions of Nigerians with special needs of their basic human rights. The new disability law seeks to eliminate such discriminations and ensure every Nigerian, irrespective of their condition, is treated equally. Abisola Adebayo, TV360, Lagos.
The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has fixed March 25th, 2020 for the hearing of the 1 billion naira fundamental rights enforcement suit filed by activist and publisher of Sahara reporters Omoyele Sowore and Olawale Bakare. The duo filed their separate suits against the Director General of the Department of State Service, Yusuf Bichi, and the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, over the alleged illegal detention, Prior to their release in December 2019, Sowore and Bakare have been prosecuted by the federal government on charges of treasonable felony since they were arrested in August 2019 for organizing a protest tagged Revolution Now. At the resumed hearing on Wednesday, Justice Ian Gekwo filed the fixed hearing of the two suits for March 25th after granting their applications to regularize some processes filed out of time by the parties. Sowore and Bakare are demanding 500 million naira in damages each in the separate suits for a violation of their fundamental right to personal liberty. President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Keme Bradikomo Ponde as acting managing director of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. Ponde, a professor of medicine at the Niger Delta University, replaces Joy Nune. The president also approved the enlargement of the Interim Management Committee, IMC, of the NDDC, increasing its members from 3 to 5. Other members of the committee include Cairo Ujubo, Ibanta Etang, Caroline Nabo, and Cecilia Akintomide. President Buhari had earlier approved that the Interim Management Committee will be in place until the forensic audit of the NDDC was concluded. String art is relatively unknown in Africa, and that's why Nigeria's famous string artist has been advocating for the adoption of string art into limelight for the past 4 years. This next report has more. While most artists use pencils and brushes to express their art, Omoteoti Ogundele uses strings and nails. He's used unorthodox materials like wood, hammer, strings and nails to design remarkable portraits of legends like Fela Kuti, Bob Marley and many others. He first conceptualizes the outcome he intends to achieve, nails it down on wood, and uses a series of intricate patterns to string the piece to life. Despite its awe-inspiring beauty, string art is uncommon and relatively unknown in Nigeria, and that's been a challenge for string artists like Toyosi. But social media has been helping to spread word about string art.
It's not a widely accepted, form of art in this part of the world, because trying to push it out there, trying to market it, trying to get people, known and all that. It has been challenging in such a way that questions like how durable is it? Does it last long, and what have you? And I also leverage on social media, which is my Instagram handle. I also push it on social media, Facebook, which that's for many artists right now. That's our own gallery, So that's basically how I push it out there. People get to know it. I've got so many commissions via Instagram, and I give God the glory.
Toyosi started out as a sculptor, but switched to string art after seeing and falling in love with it many years ago at an art conference in South Africa. He was inspired to learn how to string, and 4 years later, his mastery of the art inspires others.
A lady sometimes back on Instagram, she's a cake maker. She just posted it and said my string art inspired her to produce this kind of cake, and I was, wow, oh, amazing. There's a lady too in Brazil that has been chatting me up, she's also a string artist and trying to ask me questions, how she can go about this, how she can go about that. So for me, it goes a long way. So you never can tell how many people you've been able to inspire or touch their lives.
Toyosi admits he doesn't earn a lot of string art, but he believes his hard work and persistence would eventually pay off.
Nothing brings money, but how diligent, how good, persistent, and creative you are with that thing you do, it will bring the money. Basically, that's it for me. Because likewise, you too, if you're not good at what you do, you won't be here. If you're not creative at what you do, you won't be here. So for me too, people say there is no money in art. Now, would we say there is money in banking? Because I sit at the counter and I receive money, it's not my money. Do you understand? So for me, what you do with your hands, diligently, wisely, persistently, will definitely bring that money
Beyond monetary rewards, TRC says he's happy impacting his knowledge of string arts to others. He currently organizes classes to teach adults and kids how to string and is advocating for the arts to take center stage in Africa. Anetta Felix, TV360, Nigeria. News Now will be right back after this.
Which housed the crash nurseries and the crash school life from protected the problem of sympathy.
That the election has been postponed and Nigerians have reacted.
Local area of Lagos as early as 7
some minutes saying the incident has been managed.
Headquarters this morning. We have.
Welcome back, and here's Fidelia Agunta for the latest in business.
Thank you very much, Annetta. The World Bank has approved 6 projects worth about $2.2 billion for implementation in Nigeria in the 2020 fiscal year after deliberating on a request from the federal government. A statement issued by the World Bank earlier on Wednesday said the project would support human capital and economic development in a bid to lift millions of Nigerians out of poverty. The Bretton Woods institution noted that Nigeria, with its large population and high poverty rate, was central to its campaign against extreme poverty. Now, according to the statement, the facilities approved by the bank would finance projects aimed at improving immunization, creation of a stronger business environment for the private sector, and expansion of the digital economy for job creation. We'll now look at activities on the stock market after this break. Don't go away. The Nigeria equities market is closing bearish for the 5th consecutive day as sustained sell pressure on high and medium cap equities pulled the all-share index down by 9 basis points to 27,523 basis points. Now, with today's drop of 0.09%, it brings the year-to-date return falling to 2.5%, while market capitalization shared 9.1 billion to close at 14.3 trillion naira. Meanwhile, activity level advanced as volume and value traded rose. At 290.15 units, the volume of shares traded today surged by over 70% when compared with the previous session. The same applies to the total volume of trade, which comes in at 5.02 billion naira, and the total dues stands at 3,527. Well, let's now see the equities that pulled down the market value today. Just a day after its rebranding, which saw a name and logo change, Forte Oil is falling by a massive 16.60 naira 7 kobo to lead today's pack of losers. Now, I guess investors are not so confident in the new management of the oil and gas equity. It was also a bad day for Custodian PLC, sitting on the second spot of the chart, Guarantee Trust Bank and NCR from the ICT sector, with the 3 equities posting a combined decline of about 13 kobo in their share value. On the flip side, we have WAPCO, which is Lafarge Africa, CNI Leasing, AfriProd, and UCAP topping the gainers chart with a combined 17 kobo rise in value. And now to the foreign scene, we can see that it's a green day for the London, US, and Japan Stock Exchange, all posting gains as the market global coronavirus concerns ease and investors are pumping in more money in the various markets. So that's it from the world of business. It's back to Nathalie.
Thanks for that update, Fidelia. And still on the coronavirus, it's good news as an anti-malaria drug widely used in Africa in the 1980s and 1990s has been found to be effective on coronavirus patients. The state-run, and that's according to China's Ministry of Science and Technology. They announced that the experts approved chloroquine phosphate to be used in the fight against the deadly COVID-19 virus. The drug did prove effective in treating and preventing malaria decades before malaria parasites developed resistance to the drug. Now, this chloroquine phosphate has now been used in clinical trials in more than 10 hospitals in China's capital, Beijing, and 2 other provinces, and has now shown fairly good efficacy. And in sports, the Nigerian Football Federation has dismissed reports that former Super Eagles captain and coach Daniel Amokachi was appointed as the technical director of the federation. The NFF, in a statement by its chairman of its Technical and Development Committee, Yusuf Fresh, stated that Boutros Barang remains the technical director of the football governing body and that at no time has the body called for applications from candidates for the position. Yusuf Fresh, however, maintained and confirmed that President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed Amokachi as ambassador of Nigerian football. And that's it on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. Thanks for watching.